At the beginning of the film, we see an amazing chef named Sky, who is so skilled at cooking that people come from far and wide just to taste his food. People stand in long lines, waiting eagerly to eat at his restaurant. Sky's restaurant becomes so famous that media people regularly come to interview him. Sky uses traditional techniques, making his food extremely delicious. His unique way of cutting and cooking astonishes everyone. However, behind his amazing culinary skills, there's a tragic past that we learn about through flashbacks. Sky had a passion for cooking since childhood, and his father, Mr. Ko, was also a great chef. When Sky was just 10 years old, his father used to scold him a lot, saying, "You're so old, but you can't even make noodles. You'll never be a good chef." To pursue his own cooking career, Mr. Ko left Sky all alone. Despite waiting for a long time, Sky's father never returned. After his father's departure, Sky became very lonely and heartbroken, which led him to swear that he would one day become the best chef in the world. We are then shown that Mr. Ko has become a renowned chef in China, with many accolades and honors. In fact, he is called the god of cooking in China. However, despite all these years, Mr. Ko never told anyone that he had a son. This is why Sky harbors a deep hatred for his father. One day, when media people come to Sky's restaurant to taste his food for a report, Sky tells them that all customers are equal to him, so they will have to wait in line just like everyone else. One man, however, cuts the line and tries to enter the restaurant. Sky asks him to get back in line, which makes the man very angry. He says, "Your restaurant will be closed for renovations in a few months, and I'll throw you out." Sky then kicks the man out of the restaurant. Meanwhile, we are introduced to Paul, a famous and handsome chef who cooks only for the royal family. Paul has a girlfriend named Mayo, who works as his assistant chef. People from the French royal family are extremely pleased with Paul's cooking. Seeing this, a big French company hires Paul as their head chef. However, Paul rejects their offer because he wants to fulfill his father's dream of opening his own restaurant in China. Then we see Paul coming back to China, where he goes to a market to buy fish. He asks the shopkeeper for the biggest fish, but the shopkeeper tells him that there is no big fish available. A while later, Sky arrives at the same shop, and the shopkeeper gives him the big fish. This angers Paul because the shopkeeper is a regular customer of Sky, so he lied to Paul. When Sky receives the fish, Paul stops him, and the shopkeeper cuts the fish in half, offering one half to each of them. Later, Paul opens his restaurant with a grand celebration, and people begin flocking to it. The interior of Paul's restaurant is lavish, with expensive furniture. However, Sky's restaurant is right across from Paul's. Seeing all the customers heading to Paul's restaurant, Sky's friend announces that they are offering a 50% discount on all food for the day. Hearing this, customers rush to Sky's restaurant, which annoys Paul. This leads to a fight between the staffs of Sky and Paul. Eventually, when Sky and Paul meet face to face, the onlookers suggest that there should be a cooking competition between the two chefs. Initially, neither of them agrees, but after much persuasion, they finally accept. The competition begins in the middle of the street, with both Sky and Paul showing off their skills in cutting fish. Paul begins by carefully removing the fish bones and then throws the fish towards Sky, who catches it and starts cutting it expertly. Both their talents amaze the crowd, and they receive applause. Paul's main guests then suggest that they should both participate in an international cooking competition. In the international competition, she even takes his recipe book, claiming that anyone could cook like Paul using the book. She tells him, "I don't need you anymore." Paul is devastated and drunk on the street when Sky happens to pass by. Sky asks him what's wrong, and Paul confides in him. Paul tells Sky that he lacks the ability to taste food properly, and he's been deceived by his partners. Sky then shares a secret with Paul, saying, "The man in this photo is my father." Paul doesn't believe him at first, but when Sky tells him his full story, Paul realizes it's true. Together, they both throw bottles at Mr. KO's poster in frustration. Through this, they become good friends. Meanwhile, Paul's partners go to Sky's restaurant to demand that it be vacated because they are planning to tear it down to build a new building. Sky and Paul confront them, and Paul announces that Mayo will no longer be his partner. Instead, Sky will be his partner in the upcoming competition. This leads to a confrontation between Paul and his partner, and Paul beats him up, which excites the crowd. Sky and Paul prepare together for the next round of the competition, helping each other in cooking. Sky teaches Paul the traditional cooking methods, and Paul shows Sky his modern techniques. They both support each other, and with Mr. Hong's help, they continue to practice. The international cooking competition begins, with chefs from around the world participating. Mayo is also part of the competition. The judges taste the dishes presented by Sky and Paul and are amazed. They announce that both of them have made it to the final round. However, the final round's rules state that only one of them can compete against Mr. Ko. Sky tells Paul, "I trust you completely. I know you can defeat my father, but